So as I mentioned a couple weeks ago, I was only going to take a look at this new public test server for Grounded if it added some things that I thought were worth looking at, basically stuff beyond the cosmetic stuff. So the patch notes just came out. I skimmed through them. There's quite a few things in there that I think are worth looking at. So what I want to do is briefly go through this. I'll leave a link for the patch notes in the description down below. And once I get through the end of it, I'll just talk about what my plans are with this public test server. So it's going to be called a holiday treat. We already knew that. And basically what they're doing is you'll be able to purchase some stuff in the science shop, a holiday tree and a holiday wreath, as well as new December sign set. The holiday tree may also present random gifts to the player only during the month of December. So I guess you'll have to make sure you get that. So that means you're going to want to get into the public test server because honestly, if it lasts for a week or two, you're only going to have a little bit of time to take advantage of that. So the new features, a lot of these we already knew about, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. Additional row of backpack inventory. The teens have discovered a hidden pocket in their holding backpacks, providing additional row of inventory. We already knew about that. Good quality of life change. Zipper, go up zip lines, ascend zip lines, and traverse them more quickly with ingenious device from Wendell. The Zipper utilizes aphid power and a gear train to overcome the force of gravity. The Zipper can now be found in a new room in the Oak Lab that requires the Assistant Manager key card. Once collected, this new ability is permanently unlocked for all players. So that's basically you can just get it. That means you'll be able to craft the zip line things, be able to go up them. Unfortunately, it looks like you're gonna have to have beaten like 3/4 of the game before you get it. Guess that's an okay trade-off. Because honestly, by the time you're building lots of zip lines, you've probably already done most of the lower yard anyway. Building, crafting, quality of life, nearby storage range increase. We already know about that. Building from nearby chests. Base building can be, they showed this off in the last live stream they did where you can basically build walls and stuff like that or things from pallets. So basically chests and pallets here. So if you're building mushroom walls, you can have the mushrooms in a chest. If you're building grass walls, stem walls, you can have those in a pallet. Good change there. Multiple hot pouch bars. We already know about that. So 3 hot pouch bars. So you'll be able to have 24 items out of the 40 in your inventory to be able to access very quickly. Naming trail markers. We already know about that. Adjust depth of field option. Players can now change the background depth of field blur to high, medium, low. It's set to high by default. More likely than not, you're going to have to mess with this on your own to see if it messes with your FPS because honestly, the reason it was on to begin with is because it improves performance. So depending on your machine, whether you have an older console, older PC, you might have to leave it at high. Maybe if you have a newer console or a newer PC, you might be able to go to medium or low. Wall-mounted trophies, mark foe ability. Players can mark a foe on any wall-mounted bug trophy to give them a 15-minute damage buff against the creature type. That's interesting. So that means you're going to have to actually have the wall-mounted trophies for a creature to get the buff. Colored lights, we already knew about the colored lights, so we saw those, the rainbow colors basically. New content, new buildings. Mushroom stairs, mushrooms half stairs, grass half stairs. So we didn't see the grass half stairs, or I don't remember seeing them in the last Dev's live stream. We did see the mushroom stairs and the mushroom half stairs. Grass side table, we did see. So that's kind of like a little chest, which looked pretty interesting. New vanity buildings, 3 vases, koi scale chair, 3 folding partitions. We've already seen all of those. Scale will be adjusted in future public test builds, okay. Additional stuff, bug trophies, antlion, ladybird, black ox beetle, scarab, termite, soldier, worker, king, moth, tick. I'm not going to go through all these. Basically, it looks like every bug I think that did not have a trophy does now have a trophy. And when it says stuff bug trophies, okay, that means the ones you're going to be able to place on the ground. And then also some additional trophies are missing icons that will be updated in the future. And then additional wall mounts. Again, it looks like pretty much, I mean, I guess at this point, since you're getting a buff for activating the mark on them, it looks like everything's going to have a bug trophy. I'm guessing you probably only have one of these activated at a time. So players can mark a foe on any wall-mounted bug trophy to give them a fit. So I'm guessing that's only going to be one at a time. That'll be worth testing out just to see. And what did it say the bonus was going to be for? It's going to give you 15-minute damage buff against creatures. It's going to be interesting to see. Is it a 10% buff, 20% buff, 50% buff? If it's only 10%, whatever. I guess it's better than nothing. But let's move on down here. New trap. This is something that interests me. Large spike traps. Upgraded spike trap that deal double the damage. Made from ash cement, splinters, and lint rope. This trap is only available in creative mode. We will patch in the ability to unlock this recipe in normal game mode soon. New pose. Added the power-up pose to armor, dummies, and photo mode. Okay, quality of life. Each individual storage building can be configured as included or excluded nearby hot deposit. We saw that in their last live stream. Looking at creature and peeper mode. That has already been peep will now show their creature card for quick access. We already saw that in their last live stream. Broken items will no longer unequip. We knew about that. Buildings now give 100% of the resources back. We know about that. Thrown item markers have been adjusted. So basically, if you throw an item by accident or on purpose, you'll be able to see it from much further away. Added the respawn at nearest field station. We know about that. When a creature that drops raw meat is killed with a spicy weapon, they will drop cooked meat instead of raw meat. Well, that's pretty cool because I know a lot of us have been asking for that since the spicy coltana was added. That's pretty cool. When a creature that drops raw meat is killed with a salty weapon, they will drop jerky instead of raw meat. Okay, another interesting addition there. Pretty cool. When sleeping, if you wake up time in the middle of the night, you will now wake up in the morning. You can now copy options from the customizable window, such as lights. We already saw that in the public or during their last live stream. Sorry, copying a building using the pick control will copy its customizations. Okay, so basically that means you can copy paste like if you put down a wall sconce or whatever they're called, the lanterns, whatever they are, the lights on the walls or the floor lamps, you can basically just copy those over, and then it'll also you'll be able to copy the customizations for them as well. Bows and crossbows can no longer be thrown. The default thrown button will now be ammo radial when using the bow or crossbow. I didn't even know you could honestly throw bows or crossbows. I've never done it before. Difficulty adjustments. Dying now only drops natural resources in the death backpack in all difficulty modes. You can no longer drop any crafted items when you die. Durability damage on death increased from 5 to 10% medium, 0% mild, 10% low. So we already know about this. Basically, that means anything you have, like if you have armor on weapons, any kind of food, stuff like that, anything you've crafted, you won't drop it. I thought they also said you will not drop the upgrade rocks, but let's see if it says that. When a player dies in the pond death, their backpack will be teleported to the top of the pond. Dying in the pond from drowning will trigger a survival quest about crafting pond diving gear if you've not already crafted it. Pets are now invincible by default and mild. Adjusted the outside nighttime lighting to make it easier to see at night. Other changes in tuning audio. Audio for combat has been improved. Include a new perfect block sound. They did show that off, I believe, in their last stream too. It's kind of like a very loud sound. You'll know if you're perfect blocking. Charge attacks. Damage of all charge attacks increase. New animations for all charge attacks will be better communicated when a player is charging. Well, that makes sense because honestly, charge attacks, I never personally use them, and I don't think many other people use them on purpose, but definitely will give you a little reason to do that. If they're actually, we'll see how much they've increased by. Blocking, you can now block with bows and crossbows. We know about that. Damage reduction provided by non-perfect blocks increased from 50 to 75%. So that's gonna, I guess, reduce the damage we take if you miss your perfect block. Blocking the attack will now consume stamina when blocking with anything instead of only when blocking with a shield. Blocking an attack will now consume stamina when blocking with anything instead of only when blocking with a shield. That means if you block with a weapon, you're going to lose stamina even if you don't perfect block. Stamina regen rate is now increased by 25% while blocking instead of being decreased by 25%. Stink bugs can now jump. I thought they already could jump. They honestly jump over the gaps sometimes, okay. Mutations. The summon from the mysterious stranger mutation no longer does friendly fire damage. Weapon mutations have been reworked from random procs to guarantee bonuses. Additionally, each one grants mastery bonus for hitting level 3 with that mutation. Well, I did skim through these. These are actually pretty positive changes for the ones that actually are worth using. So basically, Dagger, which is Assassin, 5, 10, 15% chance to apply Bleed 100 over 10 seconds. Is now a 100% chance when every hit, non-stacking, but it reapplies and resets the duration. Bleed for 30, 50, 75 over 5 seconds. Mastery bonus Dagger hits reduce targets bleed resist by 25%. So that's definitely a good change there. It'll make the Assassin mutation was already pretty decent as it was. Axe old 5, 8, 10% chance to stagger. 100% chance reducing enemies' physical damage resistance, chopping, bashing, slashing, and stabbing on hit. Damage reduction scales up based on level of mutation, 10, 15, 20%. Attack with an axe applies a buff to the player that removes their non-exhausted stamina regen delay. Okay, so that's going to basically mean you're going to get your stamina back faster. Well, that's definitely a good change because honestly, the old mutation for this, which was called Chopper, was pretty bad. So this actually is probably going to make it a little bit better. Definitely we'll have to look at the math on it, though, to see if it actually is better. Hammer, old 15, 25, 30 chance to slow enemies attack speed by 20. 100% now it is 100% chance to slow enemy attack speed by 10, 20, 30%. Hammers, mastery will be hammers apply 50% more stun damage on all their attacks. Well, that's going to make hammers much more useful because honestly, with their slow swing, now if you can stun much more frequently, they'll definitely be more worth using. Spear, old 15, 25, 30% chance to lower enemy damage resist by 20%. Thrown damage with spears increased by 10, 20, 30. Thrown damage increased by 10, 20, 30, so that's the same. Attacking with a spear gives you a temporary buff that reflects 50, 75, 100% damage back to the enemy. Attacking with a spear gives you a temporary buff that reflects 50, 70, 100% damage back to the enemy. That means if you're blocking it, I guess, huh? Charge attacks with spear deal 30% more damage. Honestly, I mean, I'll have to look at the math on this, but I don't like this change. The 30% chance to lower an enemy's damage resist by 20% seems better than this. So this seems like they're nerfing spears, probably because the Rusty Spear was the highest DPS weapon in the game. Although Javelineer, honestly, wasn't that useful, especially against the beefier enemies. Sword, old, chance to lower stamina consumption by 20%, which was honestly completely useless. Hitting a creature with a sword lowers their attack damage by 10, 20, 30%. Hitting an enemy with a sword gives you a temporary buff that lowers your exhaustion timer by 90%. Okay, so this is actually more useful now because honestly, the getting 1 or 2 stamina back, not worth it. So again, we're gonna have to look at the math on all these because on paper, some of these sound good, but then it really depends on what the math ends up showing. Club, oh, this was Barbarian, so we already know what that is. It gives you a chance to go into Rage, increases damage by 20%. Let's see, now we have 100% chance to enter Rage when hitting a creature with a club. Rage increases club damage by 15, 20, 20%. Rage prevents perfect block. Mastery bonus, regenerate 1 HP per second while in Rage. Scales with healing received buffs. Interesting. Staff, 5, 10, 15, 25% chance to prot. I'm not going to... These, we know what these are. We're just going to look at the new one real quick. So basically, it adds the appropriate elemental effect to staff attacks 100% of the time. Spicy adds a burn for 25, 50, 75. So that was basically... How long is it going to stay on there? It just says adds a burn effect. Doesn't say how long. Up here it says burn effect 50 damage over 5. Fresh adds a movement slow of 10, 20, 30. Fresh adds a 30% movement slow for 5. Sour adds 2, 4, 6 stun damage. So basically, the Widow Wizard has been nerfed. That's what this looks like. Mastery bonus, attacks with stays apply buff to reduces stamina cost of further staff attacks by 50%. Well, that's actually good because they do use a lot of stamina, but these are all basically, it looks like, well, the fresh is a nerf and the sour is a nerf. I don't know if this is a nerf because it doesn't say how long it's going to last. It just says burn effect for 25, 50, 75, but it doesn't say how long. Oh, old. Chance to root an enemy. This was probably one of the worst mutations in the game for weapons. Let's see what it does now. New, reduces stamina cost of sprinting after landing a bow attack by 50, 75, 100% for 5 seconds. Okay, so basically that means we're going to be able to hit and run. Elemental arrows apply their special effects. Spicy burns for 50 damage. Fresh adds 30% movement slow. Sour adds 10 additional stun damage. This actually almost looks like they buffed the bow one, which is kind of surprising because it seems like they're trying to nerf bows, so that'll be interesting to see in action. Unarmed, old, 25, 50, 75% chance to increase unarmed damage by 2% until combat ends. We knew that. Now it's 100% chance to increase unarmed damage dealt by 1, 1.5%, 2% until combat ends, stacks infinitely. Mastery bonus, every unarmed attack launches a mini follow-up punch for half damage. To be completely honest, the Lil Fist was one of the best mutations in the game because the unarmed build actually is, not surprisingly, well, actually surprisingly, against beefier enemies is actually one of the best. It's like top 3 DPS against a lot of beefier enemies that take a long time to kill, especially if you build the stacks up before you start fighting them. UI, each player can hide their nameplate. We know about that. That's for the hide and seek stuff if you guys are interested in that. Game mode selection, the game lobby is now a standalone window. They did show that off before. The game lobby UI has been updated, so we've seen this during their last live stream. You can access multiplayer text chat window, while in any other window we know about that. HUD markers that display a centimeter distance will only show it when directly looked at it to help reduce UI clutter. HUD markers will fade out when obscured by closure markers. If many items of the same type are dropped in the same place, only one HUD marker will be shown for the whole pile. Building under construction wrench HUD markers have been removed as unnecessary. The sign shop now shows you what the tech chip each unlock came from, except the recommended items, which I'll go to recommended. Sign sets in the sign shop show you the sign images you unlock before purchasing them. Profanity filter has been tweaked to fix certain false positives. Creature trophy buildings for the same class of creature are now grouped as a material variant in the building radial. Okay. Pet inventories can no longer be accessed or used as nearby storage unless the pet is nearby. So for all those people that were using pets as a remote storage deposit, as expected, that has been fixed. Now, they did add the 10 extra backpack slots, so that's going to remedy that, but no longer are you going to be able to just basically dump all your stuff in your pet inventory, then drop it on the ground so you can basically have infinite storage. World Labs now contain water coolers where you can quench your thirst and discuss the most recent televised sports events with your coworkers. Okay. The secret locked door at the end of the Black Ant Lab now is a better indicator how to open it. Remove shelves from the Pond Lab biometric scanner room to clear up the line of sight. Loot on these shelves has been moved to the chest in the vicinity. Consumable items dropped in the world will despawn after 2 days. Added data page entries for the super mixers and a few other items found in the upper yard. Optimizations. Reduce memory usage to fix memory-related crashes. Reduce CPS usage across the game. That's fantastic because this game does eat up your CPU. Building. Spike strips no longer deal friendly fire damage. Spike strips now deal 50 damage per hit instead of 40. Armor. Moth armor range cut affects chance proc increase from 20 to 30%. That's a 50% buff. Manus cut effect damage increase from 15 per second to 20. Accessibility, the read-to-me narration of the game lobby. OS resting customization menus have been improved. The read-to-me narrator will re-narrate the building radial when the player changes the building material. All right, bug fixes. These are some of the things I was most interested in. We only got a little bit more to go here. Crash fixes. Fix a crash that could occur when a creature performed a charge attack through clover or grass. I've never had that happen. Fixed a random crash that could happen while generating navigation data for creatures. I've never had that happen. Major fixes. Ants no longer gather excessive amounts of food in the anthills. They will stop when they feel they have a sufficient amount to feed themselves. Creatures should no longer get stuck halfway in the ground. Let's see if that's actually the case. Burgle should no longer randomly go missing. Burgle did fall through the map for some people, and they could not progress. The audio log in the Haze Lab was missing in older saves and was never collected. It will show up now. Creatures will probably lose aggro after incapacitating a player instead of immediately retargeting them on revive regardless of where they are. Other fixes. Creatures in the sandbox would no longer get stuck on, I'm not sure what that word is, umbrellas. So all those shorts I showed of the antlions getting stuck on the umbrellas, guess that got somebody's attention because they've said they fixed it. We'll see if that's actually the case. Fix some spots in the Mantis area that the player was not supposed to be able to get to. Pretty sure, I never did this, but I think you can get the places where the Mantis couldn't reach you and you could just cheese it. Players can no longer trigger emote animations while attacking. Apparently there was an exploit where you could shoot your bow, do an emote, and then immediately shoot again without reloading. So that's been fixed. Fixed a handful of world terrain visual issues. That's probably the lines that were sticking out. Especially there was one up in the new hedge, where the new berries are up in the upper right part. Music changes from entering a new biome will transition more cleanly. Ladybugs will probably aggro players when hit by thrown two-handed weapons. Oh, gee, I did a short on that too, so looks like they fixed that. Fixed memory leak in the Mantis boss fight. Hopefully that improves people's FPS. The rescore scanner will no longer hitch when opened with a lot of items unlocked. Usernames with leading numbers will no longer become scrambled in certain contexts when playing in Arabic. Okay, that's very specific. Read to me will no longer read conversation lines that are already voiced. The player can no longer connect zip lines to inappropriately angled target anchors. Fix the pond biome POI sometimes not unlocking. That's good because sometimes that took me like probably an hour to unlock. Until somebody told me to go inside the pond dome and then look straight up, then it worked. Sap catchers can no longer be built on a fresh storage. I made a short on that too. The game will no longer slow down when the player rapidly scrolls through building radial pages. Wall-mounted buildings can no longer be placed on turrets. Wall-mounted buildings can no longer be placed on stuffed flying creatures. Pets will no longer trigger inappropriate banter dialogue when player character sees them. Zipped haulable items will no longer float away when they contact a character. The player will no longer enter first person while ziplining in rare cases. Player will collectively be restored to desired perspective after freeing themselves from multiple spider webs. That's good. The Black Widow will no longer jump abnormally high. So if you didn't know about this, the Black Widow that's up by the upper pond barrel, basically what would happen was there was a way to get it so that you could basically shoot it with an arrow and then it would come out and it would get stuck on a plant and end up like being stuck up on top of it. And when it would jump down, it would die from fall damage. So you could basically completely cheese that one. I never did that myself, but several other people told me about it. Thistle needles will no longer respawn immediately after loading a save game. If a player disconnects while on a ladder, the ladder can now be recycled. Ingredients dropped from destroyed stuffed bees and gnats can now be picked up. So overall, what are my thoughts on this? They did a lot more than just the cosmetic stuff, which I am happy to see. Honestly, the cosmetic stuff, for those that are interested in it, hopefully that gives you something to do. I'm not really interested in the cosmetic stuff. The main things I'm interested in are, did they actually fix the bug AI? Now, I didn't see anything specifically in here where it said they fixed all the bug AI, but specifically things I'm interested in, aside from looking at the mutations a little bit more in depth to see if they're actually better now than they were before. Some of them look like they're better. Some of them look like they might be a little bit worse. I'm definitely interested in to see if, can I get the antlion stuck on the umbrella? Can you cheese the antlion? So basically what I'm going to do is, I was not planning on streaming the PTS if it was just cosmetic stuff. Since there's more stuff in there and I want to actually see if they fix a lot of the things that I pointed out, I'm going to be streaming the PTS on Wednesday. So today's Tuesday as I'm recording this. The video will be out shortly. Wednesday, I will be streaming the PTS. We'll be checking out to see if these things are actually fixed for a little bit to see whether or not all my shorts that everybody said I should stop doing, looks like they actually took notice of them and have actually fixed some things. And I'm glad they did that. Hopefully these things are fixed so they'll improve the game. But what I'm going to basically be doing is testing out to see, can I cheese anything? So it'll be a nice little cheese stream. Hopefully I can't cheese anything, and that'll just make the game better overall. So anyway, that's the holiday treat patch notes here. If you're not sure how to join the public test server, I'll leave a link for my video. Actually, at the end of the video, we'll have a link for I'll have that video up. It'll be up on the screen in just a second. You can click on that. It'll show you how to join the public test server on both Xbox consoles, and PC, whether you're playing on Windows, Game Pass, or through Steam. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button, and here's that video I just mentioned.